We grow up believing that we need to be experts, but my friend Daniel's proving that true wisdom comes from being a beginner. He spent most of his life in a career that didn't leave much room for creativity. But recently he's dropped his first album, published his first book, and he's now making joyful short films for the first time. Today we're going to talk about what he's had to unlearn in order to unlock that creative renaissance, and what he's discovering now that he's in the midst of it all. I'm Balvo, and I'm an artist.
I'm Daniel Hayes, and I'm a screenwriter and filmmaker.
And this is Mind Over Matcha, where we share our everyday epiphanies, which are tiny droplets of wisdom with the potential to change the way you see the world. Take what you need and leave the rest. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
That's from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. The
Oh,
book.
yeah. Oh, that's great.
Your entire aura is beginner's mind, because even since the first time you approached me, I'm like younger than you. I didn't know what I was doing either, making music as Ming and Ping. And you were like, man, how do you do all that? That's crazy, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
And you were DJing, you were producing little DJ tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Purple Haze.
Yep, yep. I remember those days.
But, so Daniel and I have known each other for like 20 years.
Yeah.
You should hold that poster up later for B-roll.
Oh, yeah.
I signed this Ming and Ping poster for Daniel like 20 years ago.
Totally. Still got it.
But you didn't grow up doing tons of creative art stuff, right? You were an artsy kid, but like that wasn't your path in life. And even in adult life, that wasn't your career.
No. Up until I would say about junior high, about 8th grade, I definitely wanted to be a writer. But as soon as I got into high school, definitely I felt pressure from kind of all the adults around me that no, being a writer, there's no money in that. You should be a banker.
God.
Learn finance. And so pretty much by the end of high school, I was definitely thinking more about business and how can I make money, and writing is just something that I would do for fun. And I would say, by the time I graduated high school, I wasn't writing, I wasn't really doing much creative stuff at all.
You're having this very fruitful creative renaissance at age 50, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just about your art, because you've taken up boxing at age 40 something. You've I don't know, you've done a lot of stuff in your life.
I would say in the last 6 years, and it really started with a low point that I kind of crawled out of, and
Do you want to share anything about that?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
You can be cryptic if you need to.
No. No. I'm happy to share. I mean, the short version, of it is, I had my heart broken, and I had my heart broken before, but for some reason this time, the heartbreak was physical, and it was. I stopped eating as much as I should. I lost weight. I got depressed. I knew I had to change. And I mean, it really started with the decision to start going to the gym, something simple. But I started lifting, and I started gaining weight. I started gaining strength.
In a good way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No. And that new habit just really helped everything in my life, right? I got more confident. It helped all sorts of things. Like, I think throughout my 20s and 30s and early 40s, I had social anxiety at parties and big groups. So that started to fall away. Really only about 9 months after I started working out and lifting and gaining some muscle mass. I got a girlfriend, and who, by the way, I'm still with to this day. And you know, we've had some bumps along the way, but it was the first time that it taught me that, you know, I could just go after something without thinking about the consequences. It didn't occur to me that lifting and going to the gym was hard work. It was very hard work, especially in the beginning. And in fact, you know, the first 9 months I gained 25 pounds of muscle. And because I was just working out constantly and eating right and all that. But that first experience really informed everything that came afterwards. It gave me this confidence to try things without, you know, thinking about how hard they were or the difficulties. And I feel like that beginner mindset really is now just my mantra in life.
A lot of times people have a reinvention of themselves because of something that happened that was really difficult.
Right.
And for you, it was, you know, your marriage, your long-term relationship or whatever. But what do you think about yourself you had to drop or let go of that made that reinvention possible, or that healthier version of you come out?
I was never a control freak. Right? Like I've never been a type A, you know, type person. However, there was definitely probably a big part of me that at least felt like I was always in control, that I knew the answers, that I knew, you know, I knew everything.
Wow.
To exaggerate that, but generally, yeah. And I think.
Wait, where did that come from? Had that always been a thing?
You know, I think it stemmed from an emotional immaturity, because you know how high schoolers, you know, they all think they know everything. Teenagers just like, we know everything, you know.
Don't
adults, right? Some of them do, I think. And I don't think I ever grew out of that. I think I was about 43, 44. And it was really the first time in my life where I realized I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to solve this problem. Whereas up until that point, I had been able to, surf
your way out of things.
Surf the waves of life. You know, like if I wiped out, I just got back on another wave. But this time, I was, staying with the surfing metaphor, I was getting pulled under. That experience for me was that experience of I don't know everything and I'm not in control. That I think was what led to this sort of beginner's mindset, that what I found was actually a wonderful place to be. You know?
I love this.
Yeah, like I just, and to this day, and I think I'm going to, for the rest of my life, I will have, like I'm not in control. And the universe provides and guides me towards where I need to be, And I think that sort of mindset, that beginner's mindset has been, developing, ever since, my low moment. And now whenever something bad happens, I just think about, okay, why did this happen? What's the reason for it? And I always, as they say, make lemonade, from those lemons. And I just trust that, whatever direction I take, will be the right one,
That's really hard for people.
Yeah, I know. I see that. I definitely see that. I know sometimes, life will throw you some really, really hard curveballs. And I think that's, sometimes people have trouble because they focus on the curveballs that they've been thrown instead of what comes after.
Oh, interesting.
And I think with me, I always focus on what came after, like the recovery, the the rebuilding of those moments, after those moments.
Tea?
Yes, thank you. Oh, that's great.
It's early morning. We're 8,200 feet up in a mountain outside of Denver, Colorado. and just getting up here was, I was out of breath in like 3 seconds.
Yep, definitely.
So I'm glad you've been working out and boxing.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. No, that was boxing. I think boxing gets a bad rap because everybody, they think of brain injuries and it's how violent it is. But when I think of boxing, my perspective on that is that it's amazing cardio. It's such a good workout for the brain because I've always thought of it as similar to riding a motorcycle because every hand and foot is doing something different, right? But simultaneously.
Flow state.
Yeah. So your brain has to sort of be trained and learn to operate all the limbs in a different way simultaneously. And then on top of that, you have to conquer your fear of getting hit in the head. Because if you're just doing this the whole time, you just got your gloves up the whole time, that's not boxing.
Well, I think that's what prevents most people, from feeling comfortable with a beginner's mindset. It's that fear that you're going to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's that fear that what you create is going to be crappy.
Yeah.
That someone's going to be like, yo, your music sucks.
Right.
Yeah, it's my first song. Of course it's going to suck.
Totally.
But do you still feel that? Like, what's the project that you're having the most fun doing right now? And does that ever sneak back in?
Yeah, right now, the thing I'm having the most fun with is I'm working on a web series of episodes that is based on, I run a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And what I've done is I'm adapting the adventures that I've written for the campaign into a web series called The Adventures of Monster Force. I would say the one moment of doubt about this particular series was immediately erased, and I remember I had a conversation with my role-playing group, and it wasn't my idea. One of my role-playing groups said, hey, it would be a cool idea if you started making movies out of these adventures. And my response was, oh, I don't know. I use a lot of cliche, and I borrow from stories that I've read and movies that I've seen, And I remember this person said to me, "Oh, come on, that's every story, And once that person said that to me, I thought, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." And then from that point forward, I didn't worry about what was cliche, what had been done before, and I just started having fun. So The Adventures of Monster Force. There's nothing clever about that title, right? It's and so for me, no, I really don't have that doubt anymore because I sort of have embraced the fact that I'm not doing anything new. I'm just having a good time. Yes, like everything's been done before, but it hasn't been done by you.
Ooh.
And so that's kind of what I kind of keep in mind when I'm either writing a new screenplay or writing a short film, is that, okay, yeah, like, spy thrillers, there have been tons of spy thrillers, over the years, but I haven't done a spy thriller, so this is going to be my spy thriller.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
You just said something in passing that I thought was one of the key things that I want to explore with you.
Okay.
You said, I'm making this series and I'm not worried that it's not original or whatever, because nothing's original.
Yeah.
I'm just having fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And like as I watch you go through life and as I watch you make all your stuff, there's this sense of joy that I witness.
Yeah.
And I know, I can tell that it comes from not trying to be right.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. One of my favorite challenges about these shoots that I've been doing is when something goes wrong. And and often when something goes wrong, it forces me to figure out a workaround and figure out a way to kind of make it work. That turns out being, at the very least interesting, but often humorous. And so that's kind of something that I've, very early on that I really have started to embrace, like the comedy, the humorousness of a beginner filmmaker, and I don't know, like I'm not sure, I don't know if I want to become an expert, at filmmaking. I really kind of like all these little mistakes, that happen along the way, because they end up turning out to be kind of funny, and I think that's me. That's kind of how I've lived my life. Whenever something doesn't work out quite the way that I wanted it to, I laugh at it. I don't take it hard. I just say, oh, okay, cool, that was funny. That was crazy that life threw this in there, and I move on and keep doing my thing,
I love that about you.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who are like, oh man, I'm too old to start painting, it's not gonna go anywhere?
That's a difficult question for me, because I don't really think of myself as somebody that's wise or somebody that has a lot of advice to give. In fact, I think I would have two responses to that. One, I think there are some good coaches out there. I think there are some good people that can kind of put you on your path, like if you can find the right one. But barring that, I would also say just try to approach it as you're not trying to make money, you're not trying to impress people. You're just playing. You're just playing. If you want to be a director, direct. If you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be a painter, paint. You don't have to make some Hollywood blockbuster. You don't have to write the great American novel. You don't have to paint the Mona Lisa. Just paint, and you're a painter. That joy in the journey will make the destination and will make the end result successful or enjoyable for others, because they notice that.
I think that when you do that and you just go in with a sense of I'm just playing, and something comes out that's kind of crap.
Yeah.
A lot of people get discouraged because they're like, oh, I tried it, it sucked. Because I do that all the time. Like, I make really crap stuff all the time. My way of dealing with that is just to make another one.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Like, just, having fun.
Like you say, it's a sandbox, but I think of it as like it's a sand castle, and some wave is going to come in and wash your sand sculpture away, and you just got to make a new one.
Yeah.
And the wave could just be time. Like, you finish the thing you're not super proud of. A week later, that week was the wave, and you're a whole new person.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you make next is going to be incrementally better.
I totally agree. I worked with my script editor, Mary, and one of the exercises that she had me do was, she basically was like, I would write a script, and she says, okay, here's what I want you to do. She'd give me a bunch of questions about motivations and characters and all that, and she would say, I want you to start from the beginning. Like, basically throw away the script, rewrite the script from the beginning. and it's very similar to kind of what you were saying. And often that rewriting, that starting from the beginning, like building the new castle, is often a better castle.
Oof,
Yeah.
selective amnesia.
Right? Yeah. No. It's great.
Dude, thank you so much for sitting with me. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Oh,
and
you're very
experience. Like I say, beginner's mind seems to be your aura.
Mm-hmm.
And
Shoot first, ask questions later when it comes to creativity.
and I really appreciate that about you. It actually, it's being your friend is a constant reminder to me to not get so caught up in like forming definitions of either myself or my process or whatever,
Yeah.
and just continue to reinvent myself. And 20-something years of reinventing myself, and I still feel like I should continue to do that. And you're a big inspiration for that. So
Oh,
Thank
well,
you.
thank you. I think what's interesting about what you just said is that it's the same with me. Like, you were a huge inspiration to me back in 2005, 2006. Like seeing what you were doing
So weird.
with Ming and Ping, that was a huge inspiration to me. So I mean, it's mutual. So thank you.
awesome. You guys, if you got something out of this everyday epiphany from my friend Daniel Hayes, please share it with a couple of people. Daniel, where can people find your work at the moment?
I mean, probably my YouTube channel, which is Downing Street Studios. I also have a website, a .com, downingstreetstudios.com, but YouTube is where my videos are. Still a fledgling channel. There's only 2 episodes up, but I'm going to be releasing a new web episode every Friday through the end of August. So
Fun.
love
I
you
love
to check it
seeing
out.
how much fun you have with that. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you guys for joining us for Mind Over Matcha. We'll see you next time.